Jussie damn Smollett. Yeah. You see, we traffic in truth on Indisputable. And here's the truth. Jussie lied, the judge was dishonorable, and the justice system was biased. All of those truths coexist. Here's the sentencing.
I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You're going to be allowed to travel wherever you want. You do not have to live in the state of Illinois. You can report by phone. You will pay restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106. You are fined $25,000, which is the maximum fine. And you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail. And that will start today.
I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself.
Jussie. Okay, let's do it this way. Let me first highlight the reality of how we got to this point. Let's put up a picture of the elected prosecutor who initially had this case. Her name is Kim Foxx. Keep her picture up, all right? Jussie Smollett spent his first night behind bars after a judge sentenced him to 5 months for faking a racist and homophobic attack. Thursday's sentencing hearing ended dramatically as the former Empire actor stood up at the defense table as if his lawyers and sheriff's deputies surrounded him and defiantly maintained his innocence. Now, Ms. Foxx was the prosecutor. She was elected by the people to prosecute cases. She has discretion. It's called prosecutorial discretion. She can say, for this offense, I'm not willing to waste precious resources to prosecute the case, or I can engage in something called alternative prosecution. All allowable, all of that is done on a daily basis by prosecutors around this country. In 2019, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx was standing behind her office's unexpected decision to drop felony disorderly conduct charges against Jussie Smollett, stemming from a hoax attack he allegedly orchestrated himself. So where are we at in 2019? In 2019, the elected prosecutor said, I am not wasting resources prosecuting this case. Then something else happened, something that many of us were unaware even existed. A judge said, state's attorney, I don't think that's proper. And as a judge, I'm going to order a special prosecutor investigate this case, and by extension, investigate you. Now, let me ask you a question before we get off track here. Have you ever seen a judge do this when a prosecutor refuses to bring charges against a cop who killed an unarmed Black person, brown person, etc.? Have you ever seen a judge take the authority away from an elected prosecutor in order to prosecute a crime where clearly the individual who is dead was innocent and should be alive? No, they allowed the prosecutorial discretion to remain. Just this week, we covered on Indisputable that a cop who actually raped a 14-year-old girl repeatedly was allowed to go home, no jail time, and not have to register as a sex offender. That was a deal led by the district attorney. Did the judge overturn it? Did the judge appoint a special prosecutor? Did they investigate the DA? Hell no. There's more. A judge ruled that the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, had not properly handled the Smollett case the first time. This is the only case that this judge said was mishandled by the prosecutor. Those charges were dismissed Tuesday as part of what Fox called an alternative prosecution. Once again, that was allowable. This happened in 2020, in which Smollett was allowed to forfeit his $10,000 bond and complete 16 hours of community service in exchange for the dismissal. That was the end of the case. It's called alternative prosecution. Happens every day. You may not like it. You may not think that's fair, and I understand the argument against it. But that is a prosecution's discretion, okay? Now, the 39-year-old was expressionless, and his family and others in the courtroom appeared stunned as the Cook County Judge James Lynn handed down sentencing. The judge said, and I quote, "You will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail, and that will start today, right here, right now." Now, let me remind you, Jussie Smollett is convicted of a class 4 felony. It is a low-grade felony. Most people do not get actual jail time for a class 4 felony. They get a probated sentence. In considering the sentence, Lynn said, the judge said Smollett's extreme premeditation of the crime was an aggravating factor. He also said the actor had denigrated the experiences of real hate crime victims, calling him a charlatan and a liar. It continues. "You got on the witness stand," the judge said. "You didn't have to, but you did. You certainly had the right to. You have the constitutional right to. But you committed hour upon hour of perjury." That's what the judge said. That judge is being dishonorable in that moment because perjury has to be proven. That's like the judge saying you committed murder when you've only been convicted of a traffic violation. There has been no conviction of perjury. That's a separate charge. That judge was speaking out of line, but he did so. He chose to. There's more. The sentence came 3 months after Smollett was convicted of 5 counts of felony disorderly conduct for lying to Chicago police. Witnesses at his December trial included 2 brothers who told jurors Smollett paid them to carry out the attack, which means they were part of the scheme. Gave them money for the ski mask and rope, instructed them to fashion the rope into a noose. Prosecutor said he told them what racist and homophobic slurs to shout out and to yell that Smollett was in MAGA country, a reference to the campaign slogan of Donald Trump's presidential campaign. I believe those 2 brothers. I believe what they said on their witness stand. I believe what they said to the police during interrogation. I believe they are telling the truth. I believe Smollett is lying. I believe Smollett engaged in a hoax because of the selfishness of his career. I believe that 100%. And there should be a penalty for that. But when the penalty is so extreme that it does not match any other previous penalty allocated for a similar crime in history, you have to start asking a question about sentencing in this case. Let me remind you of Amy Cooper. Remember her? Let's put up her picture. She lied to the police. She weaponized her whiteness. She claimed she was being attacked, assaulted by a black man in a park. As the alleged complainant, Amy Cooper engaged in racist criminal conduct when she falsely accused a black man of trying to assault her in a previously unreported second call with a 911 dispatcher. Fortunately, no one was injured or killed in the police response to Miss Cooper's hoax. That's what the prosecution said. Our office will pursue a resolution of this case which holds Miss Cooper accountable while healing our community, restoring justice, and deterring others from perpetuating this racist practice. She engaged in a hoax. She lied to the police. She said this was an attack. None of that was true. It was caught on video. We are more than positive about her hoax than we are about the hoax of Jussie Smollett. It's caught on video. Prosecutor said we're going to prosecute this. She gets charged, not with a felony, which they could have. They charge her with a misdemeanor. And then what happens? Charges were dismissed. Charges were dismissed against Amy Cooper, the white woman who called police on black bird watcher in Central Park last May after she completed a psychoeducation and therapy program focused on racial equity, prosecutors said. Here's what I'm saying to you, okay? I would like to see judges tell prosecutors, hey, I don't like how you drop these charges against this cop who killed this black man or this black woman. And because of that, I'm gonna order a special prosecutor to look into how you investigated the case and to look into charges against that cop. But that doesn't happen. But we wasted so many resources on Smollett. I got something for Smollett too. He doesn't get away from this. Now remember, African Americans are more likely than white Americans to be arrested. Once arrested, they are more likely to be convicted. Once convicted, they are more likely to experience lengthy prison sentences. African American adults are 5.9 times as likely to be incarcerated than white adults for the exact same crime. But here's the thing, Smollett. What you did, sir, was a violation of our trust. We believed you. It was a violation of those who are actual victims in this system. False allegations erode the public societal fabric of trust. This trust is needed when those who are true victims make the step to courageously come forward. When false allegations are exposed, they desensitize the public and condition the masses to become skeptical of actual victims. Dan, what are your thoughts here?
So many thoughts. My main ones are, let's just get it right out of the way. I am very much upset that Jussie Smollett gives people who already want to disagree with victims and want to disbelieve their stories more ammunition. I think that's unfair and that's selfish of him to do. But my main focus, like you are saying here, is on the completely haphazard, disjointed mess of our so-called legal system. Like the idea that we have to accept the reality that judges are not neutral arbiters of the law. They often don't act upon legal precedent unless it's convenient for them. That sometimes, too often, there are a lot of judges that do, but too often there are judges who are political actors who watch Fox News and are motivated by the pipeline that is provided for these right-wing judges to fill up in our society right now. And so the more we reckon with that fact and the more we see it across the country, in Texas, where you have bills that are passed by judges or laws that are upheld by judges or blocked by judges that make it harder for LGBTQ youths to just live and survive or even talk about their experiences. All top and down, we don't have a neutral legal system. We have a legal system that is motivated by right-wing political actors. And that legal system usually means that you get imperfect justice and a justice that is often biased in a racial way against people of color. So this is another example of it here. I would prefer, again, Jussie Smollett, in my opinion, is lying a lot here and making his case here. But I will also acknowledge that people who are LGBTQ in prison oftentimes face harder experiences. And so hopefully he is safe with his sentencing. I think that's far too much to be done. And I think the judge was also needlessly cruel in bringing up that part of the sentencing at the very end. He knew what he was doing, but that, again, it's more like editorializing from a judge who's supposed to be a neutral arbiter of the law, but clearly is not.
Right, and let me remind everyone that when police lie on police reports, they lie to the police too. And we have seen some police officers actually get charged, but no police officer has been held to the fullest extent of the law. No police officer has been made an example of. No jurisdiction has spent this level of resources on prosecuting police that lied to the police. And at the end of the day, that's the crime of Jussie Smollett. He lied to the police. When police lied to the police, they had a duty not to lie. They had a duty to fix the public trust we gave them and to write accordance to the society around them, and they chose to violate that.
When the police lie to the police, you get retirement benefits. That's basically the end of that.
Well said.